Hello viewers, I'm your host Pratiksha Mishra with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. India has reaffirmed its leadership in cooperative development with the launch of the UN International Year of Cooperatives 2025. At the ICA Global Cooperative Conference 2024 in New Delhi, the focus was on the transformative power of cooperatives in fostering inclusive growth. Success stories like Amul highlighted the vital role of women in driving empowerment and community development.
Founded in 1946, Amul exemplifies cooperative success, transforming rural India and the dairy industry. Through its decentralized model under the Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, it ensures fair prices, empowers farmers, particularly women, and fosters innovation. Amul's achievements were highlighted at the ICA Global Cooperative Conference 2024 in New Delhi, marking the first time in its 130-year history that the International Cooperative Alliance convened in India. Inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi under the theme Cooperatives Build Prosperity for All, the conference showcased India's commitment to inclusive growth through collaboration. PM Modi celebrated the pivotal role of women in cooperatives, emphasizing their contributions to economic empowerment and community development.
दुनिया के लिए कोऑपरेटिव्स एक मॉडल है, लेकिन भारत के लिए कोऑपरेटिव्स संस्कृति का आधार है, जीवन शैली है। आज भारत के कोऑपरेटिव सेक्टर में 60% से ज्यादा भागीदारी महिलाओं की है। महिलाओं के कितने ही कोऑपरेटिव्स आज इस सेक्टर की ताकत बने हुए हैं। साथियों, हमारा प्रयास है कि कोऑपरेटिव्स की मैनेजमेंट भी महिलाओं की भागीदारी उसमें बढ़े। इसके लिए हमने मल्टी स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी एक्ट में संशोधन किया है। अब मल्टी स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी के बोर्ड में वीमेन डायरेक्टर्स का होना जरूरी कर दिया गया है।
The Prime Minister launched the UN International Year of Cooperatives 2025 with the theme Cooperatives Build a Better World, emphasizing their role in social inclusion, economic empowerment, and sustainable development. Recognized by the UN Sustainable Development Goals as key drivers of progress, cooperatives help reduce inequality, promote decent work, and alleviate poverty. Praising India's cooperative movement, the Prime Minister of Bhutan highlighted its success in empowering millions, uplifting marginalized communities, and driving sustainable growth.
I am delighted to be here today in the vibrant and diverse nation of India at the launch of the UN International Year of Cooperatives. Today, we come together to celebrate not just the cooperative movement, but the profound impact it has had on communities around the world, especially in uplifting the marginalized and fostering sustainable economic growth. Cooperatives have achieved remarkable successes over the years. They have empowered millions, providing essential services, fostering economic inclusion, and stimulating local economies.
The 18 International Cooperative Alliance member organizations in India represent nearly 800,000 cooperatives and 290 million cooperators. The UN Resident Coordinator for India highlighted the transformative global impact of India's cooperative sector.
India's cooperative sector has been central to rural transformation, empowering millions through initiatives like Amul, the largest dairy cooperative in the world, which makes, believe me, the most delicious products. You have to try if you haven't already. And women-led self-help groups are leveraging India's world-class digital public infrastructure, helping many, many millions of women access microfinance, grow their businesses, strengthen their communities through women-led development.
As the UN International Year of Cooperatives 2025 approaches, it is clear cooperatives are vital to building a more equitable world. India's commitment to prosperity through cooperation serves as a beacon of hope, showing that together we can create a thriving future for all.
In a pivotal step for Sri Lanka's economic recovery, the IMF has approved the third review of the country's $2.9 billion bailout package. While signs of recovery are emerging, the IMF cautions that Sri Lanka's economy remains vulnerable. The country must complete critical debt restructuring deals with bondholders and bilateral creditors, including Japan, China and India, to ensure continued financial support. As Sri Lanka works through its financial challenges, the government's commitment to reforms and debt resolution will be key to securing long-term economic stability and growth. Take a look.
In a crucial move for Sri Lanka's economic recovery, the International Monetary Fund approved the third review of Sri Lanka's $2.9 billion bailout. The International Monetary Fund confirmed it will release approximately $333 million, which will bring the total financial support to around $1.3 billion. Despite this, the global lender warned that the South Asian nation's economy remains vulnerable. The IMF noted that while signs of recovery are emerging, Sri Lanka still faces significant challenges. The country needs to complete a debt restructuring deal, which includes a $12.5 billion bondholder debt restructuring and a $10 billion debt rework with bilateral creditors, including Japan, China and India, to keep the bailout program on track.
We have reached staff-level agreement with the Sri Lankan authorities on the third review under the 4-year extended fund facility supported program. Upon completion of the executive board review, Sri Lanka would have access to about $330 million. This would bring IMF financial support dispersed under the arrangement to a total of about $1.3 billion. In terms of the macroeconomic situation, Sri Lanka's ambitious reform agenda supported by the EFF is delivering commendable outcomes. The economy expanded on average by 4% year-on-year in the 4 quarters ending in June of this year, and high-frequency indicators point to continued expansion across all sectors.
The IMF's bailout, secured in March last year, helped stabilize Sri Lanka's economy after it plunged into its worst financial crisis in over 7 decades in 2022. The IMF has emphasized the importance of the Sri Lankan government's steadfast commitment to the objectives of the bailout program.
I would like to note that the new government's commitment to the program objectives has enhanced confidence and ensures policy continuity. Sustaining the reform momentum is critical to safeguarding the hard-won gains of the program. It is also critical to put the economy on a path towards lasting recovery and stable and inclusive growth.
Sri Lanka's path to lasting recovery is heavily dependent on its ability to complete the ongoing debt restructuring talks and stay on course with its reform agenda. While the IMF's continued support provides hope, the country must navigate a complex web of financial and political challenges. The global economic environment and the volatility of key international markets also add uncertainty to the road ahead. As Sri Lanka seeks to overcome its debt crisis and rebuild its economy, international financial support will remain essential, but the country must demonstrate resilience and commitment to its reform agenda if it is to achieve sustainable long-term growth.
Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
Several regions of Sri Lanka have been severely affected by heavy rain and strong winds over the past several days, leading to widespread flooding. Police reported that at least 8 people are missing after the tractor they were travelling in was swept away by rising floodwaters in the eastern part of the country. In addition, one woman tragically lost her life while she was buried in a mudslide. GFE Engineering, a prominent Japanese engineering firm specializing in waste-to-energy plants, oil and gas facilities, pipelines, bridges, and other infrastructure projects worldwide, has launched its first overseas waste management project in Malaysia. The project received Malaysian government approval in July 2024. A joint venture known as JNT Berjaya Alam Murni (JBAM) was formed by Malaysia's NASA Enviro Holdings, Japan's JNT Recycling Corporation, and JFE Engineering Malaysia. Together, they aim to develop and manage the Sustainable Scheduled Waste Treatment Center in Malaysia. The facility is designed to receive, treat, and dispose of clinical, toxic, and hazardous waste generated by medical facilities and various industries across the country. Through innovative heat recovery techniques from the incineration process, the project contributes to the circular economy. Recovered heat is used by an adjacent drying facility, enabling thermal recycling by reducing waste moisture content.
本施設は有害廃棄物や医療系廃棄物を処理する焼却炉です。J&D 環境でも採用されているヒルストーカー式焼却炉であり、多種多様な幅広い廃棄物に対応可能で、1日70トン、年間2万トンの処理能力があります。
As Malaysia faces increasing challenges with industrial waste pollution, JFE Engineering's advanced technology ensures proper waste treatment in line with stringent air emission standards.
NASA Enviro operates the 659-acre Bukit Taga Enviro Park, one of Malaysia's leading sanitary landfills and premier eco-parks. With a strong focus on environmental responsibility, NASA Enviro is poised to lead Malaysia's waste management sector. The operation of this facility would be a great benchmark of JFE Group's initiative to protect Malaysia's environment and encourage future collaboration between NASA Enviro and JFE Group in the future.
By leveraging JFE's group's advanced technology and international expertise, JBAM plans to expand further in international waste management initiatives, contributing to a more sustainable future. South Korea's capital was blanketed by the heaviest snowfall in Seoul during November on record, with bad weather, snarling traffic, knocking out power and grounding hundreds of flights as authorities braced for more snow in coming days. More than 200 flights were cancelled or delayed, most of them domestic, as airports across the country experienced severe weather conditions, which also included strong wind, and at least 70 ferries serving islands were suspended.
Moving on. The protests by Imran Khan's supporters in Pakistan have reached a critical juncture, plunging the country into unprecedented political turmoil. Thousands of demonstrators demanding his release have intensified their actions, leading to violent clashes with security forces in the capital's heavily fortified red zone, resulting in multiple casualties. The government's aggressive crackdown on the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party has raised serious concerns about the nation's stability and its future trajectory. As both sides adopt increasingly hardline positions, Pakistan's democratic future hangs in the balance. A report.
On November 27, Pakistani security forces launched a major operation in the heart of Islamabad, targeting supporters of Imran Khan who had gathered to demand his release. The midnight raid marked a dramatic escalation in the ongoing protests, which began with Khan's supporters storming the capital the day before, on November 26. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister and leader of the opposition Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party, has been imprisoned since August of the previous year. His supporters have called for his immediate release, staging protests across the country which have grown increasingly tense. The protests in Islamabad intensified as thousands of demonstrators led by Khan's wife, Bushra Bibi, broke through multiple security lines and converged on the city's highly fortified red zone, a critical area housing government buildings, including the parliament and foreign embassies, all heavily guarded by the military. The violence that ensued resulted in multiple casualties, including both security forces and PTI supporters. Khan's party PTI had called for a sit-in protest within the red zone, vowing to remain until Khan's release. This bold move added fuel to an already volatile political situation with tensions running high. In response, the government took a firm stance against the demonstrations. Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi declared that no negotiations would take place with the protesters, accusing them of being heavily armed and engaging in violent confrontations with security forces.
It seems like a rather critical juncture here. And at the same time, one which it's hard to predict how it's going to end. But things have come to a head, and they've been boiling for a long time. But now what we have, as I see it, is the kind of confrontation between the establishment and the PTI, led, of course, by Imran Khan. And only one of them can emerge from this standing. It's something which we've had battles between them before, but now Imran Khan is putting all of his cards on the table.
The escalating violence on the streets has raised alarming concerns about Pakistan's stability. The midnight raid, part of a sweeping crackdown on those affiliated with Imran Khan's PTI party, underscores a troubling escalation in the confrontation between Khan's supporters and the military-led government. The crackdown not only signals a tightening of the government's grip on power, but also highlights the deepening divide within the country. This growing conflict threatens to further destabilize Pakistan, pushing it closer to a crisis of legitimacy.
How it resolves, as I said here, is rather unpredictable. But I think what we can say is that the resolution, whatever it is going to tell us a lot about Pakistan going forward. It will either be a government now which makes a transition toward a PTI-led regime, or it's going to be a rather heavy-handed military effort to suppress those forces which are challenging it.
As the situation continues to unfold, Pakistan's political future hangs in the balance. The government's handling of these protests will likely determine whether the country moves towards a new political era under PTI's leadership, or if the military will tighten its grip, intensifying efforts to suppress opposition and maintain control. The outcome could reshape the nation's political landscape with profound implications for its democratic future.
The situation in Bangladesh has sparked a growing international outcry as attacks on the Hindu minority escalate. Since the fall of the Awami League government in August, Hindu homes, temples and businesses have been targets of violence across the country. Prominent figures like British MP Bob Blackman and American singer and activist Mary Milben have condemned the attacks, urging the Bangladeshi government to take action to protect religious minorities. International pressure is mounting with calls for sanctions against the interim government led by Muhammad Yunus. Take a look.
Bangladesh's Hindu minority, which makes up only about 8% of the nation's 170 million people, has endured a surge of attacks since the fall of Sheikh Hasina's Awami League government on August 5th. The violence has affected more than 50 districts across the country, with reports of arson, vandalism and physical assaults targeting Hindu homes, temples and businesses. Recently, tensions intensified after the arrest of Chinmoy Krishnadas, a prominent Hindu spiritual leader, in a sedition case. His denial of bail by a court sparked protests from the Hindu community in Dhaka, Chattogram and several other regions, demanding justice and an end to the attacks. Das, a leader with the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is accused of engaging in activities deemed against the state, fueling even greater unrest. In response to the escalating violence, international leaders have raised their voices in solidarity with the Bangladesh's Hindu community. British Conservative MP Bob Blackman recently addressed the issue in the UK Parliament, calling the ongoing attacks unacceptable.
The International Society of Krishna Consciousness, who run Bhaktivinoda Manor in Elstree, the largest Hindu temple in this country, in Bangladesh, their spiritual leader is under arrest. Hindus across Bangladesh are being subject literally to death by their houses being burnt, their temples are being burnt, and there was an attempt today in the Bangladesh High Court to rule that ISKCON should be banned from the country. This is a direct attack on Hindus. Now, this is a threat from India now to take action. We have a responsibility because we enable Bangladesh to be free and independent. Now, whatever the change of government has been in Bangladesh, it cannot be acceptable that religious minorities are persecuted in this way.
Blackman's remarks have highlighted the growing international concern over the safety of Hindus in Bangladesh. American singer and activist Mary Milben has also joined the global outcry, condemning the arrest of Chinmoy Krishnadas and the violence faced by Hindus in Bangladesh. In the United States, Hindu-American groups have written letters to both President-elect Donald Trump and incumbent President Joe Biden, urging action to protect the Hindu community in Bangladesh. The letters demand sanctions against the interim government led by Muhammad Yunus, who assumed leadership after the fall of the Awami League government. Meanwhile, Johnny Moore, the former commissioner of the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, has also slammed Bangladeshi interim government led by Muhammad Yunus over the atrocities faced by religious minorities under his regime.
We're not sure who's really doing this, but let me just say the way I see it. Muhammad Yunus is failing. Okay, that's what's happening in Bangladesh now. As the leader of the country, as the interim leader of the country, there are no aspirations for the Bangladeshi people if you can't manage a very, very simple component of civil society, which is you have to protect people. People have to be safe. And you certainly cannot have a vibrant democratic country if the opposition, if they're religious, can face this level of persecution. If the rule of law becomes so inefficient that instead of getting due process, a lawyer is killed. You know, I mean, this is unbelievable. And I have to tell you, I was astonished by the response of Mr. Yunus and the Bangladeshi government. They are saying this is exaggerated. They're saying that this isn't as big a deal as it seems. Well, I can tell you, if you're a religious minority in the country and you're wondering whether you're going to live tomorrow, it's a very, very big deal, and it is the first responsibility of any government to protect these people. Muhammad Yunus is failing. That's what's happening, and he better fix it right away.
As the situation in Bangladesh continues to deteriorate, international pressure is mounting on the interim government to take decisive action to stop the violence and protect its religious minorities. For the Hindus of Bangladesh, the fight for justice and security is just beginning, and the world is watching closely.
The clock is ticking for Bangladesh's Hindu community. Will justice prevail? Only time will tell. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.